This episode of the Cab Grand Rising Show is brought to you by Autochthonous Assembly, where the real work gets done. For the first-time visitors who may be wondering who Autochthonous Assembly is, Autochthonous Assembly, or A2 for short, is a gathering of minds that do the work. A2 is a non-profit organization dedicated to raising up Indigenous Americans' voices by using genealogy, also known as family history or family tree. Genealogy is the study of families and the tracing of their lineages in history. Genealogists use oral interviews, historical records, genetic analysis, and other records to obtain information about a family and to demonstrate kinship and pedigrees of its members. Autochthonous Assembly's core values are the foundation of its company, essential to its success, and serves as the lens through which it evaluates every business decision. The core values are integrity, know and do what is right, respect, treating others the way you want to be treated, responsibility, embrace opportunities to contribute, servant leadership, serve the common good. Along with a key emphasis on genealogy, A2 is also committed to providing our communities with information and access to available grants and funding through the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the United States Department of Agriculture, the Farm Service Agency, and other departments and agencies that offer programs to help them become self-sufficient. Building on a strong community reputation, Autochthonous Assembly continues to strengthen the growth of the relationship and development of our communities. Peace and Grand Rising.
Warning, warning, warning. Hard hats, pickaxe, shovels, boots required.
We are live. Grand Rising, everyone. Peace, peace, peace. How's everyone doing this rising? Hope all is well.
Grand Rising, everyone.
So, Gabrielle, how was your weekend and your rising so far?
It was really, really, really good. Worked, listened, talked. It was a really good weekend. I really enjoyed it. I really did. Got some more stuff for the community garden. Grand
Grand
Rising, double
Rising.
cousin. We
We live.
live.
We live. And for the last time, we live. No, let me stop.
No, like we for real live. I know, I know, Bones laughing, but we for real live.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear either one of y'all. What's going on, family? Hey,
We live.
nah.
Wait a minute. Tell him again. Tell him we live. Tell him we live.
Won't be telling me, oh, why y'all didn't warn me? Y'all just let me
Why
keep
you ain't
it
say
and cuss
nothing?
everybody out.
You ain't say nothing.
As soon as he said, I didn't hear anything. Wait a minute. Can you hear me now?
We live. We live. For the last time, we live.
I heard Bones say for the last time. That's why I was like, yeah, so okay. I see how you gonna do, man.
How you doing this rising, no sellout?
Ain't nobody doing nothing. How y'all doing?
Good. Motivated. I woke up motivated.
I woke up like this.
I'm trying to tell you. Moving stuff, arranging stuff in the front yard. Nobody was outside. Just me. Not even cars was riding by. Just me.
Mm-hmm. I say no complaints. Very good weekend. Once again, much respect and appreciation to Chief Langley out of South Carolina for the invite over this weekend. Again, much appreciation for that, and look forward to a couple of more.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That was amazing.
And working on seeing if we can get the community, people who are interested in the community, involved in the classes with Chief Langley. So as soon as I get something back, I will definitely let the community know and see what we can do moving forward.
Oh shoot, past the peas.
Let it you do.
And shout out to Carrie Bay this rising.
Man, for real, yeah.
One of the realest ever out there. Real talk, y'all.
Yeah, buddy.
Man, for real. Shout out to Carrie Bay. Yay.
Brittany keep wondering the whole weekend while I'm looking at the screen. She swear I'm talking to my little brother because Carrie don't look like a twin to my little brother. I got to show y'all the picture.
Oh.
They got the same hairstyle, same glasses.
Oh, that's what's up.
I think my brother like just a little bit lighter, not too much lighter.
Oh.
Carrie's New Orleans accent would give it away. But other than that, you looked at the screen like, hold on, where your brother get in here? Oh, that's Carrie. Like, stop playing. No, for real.
Like, oh no, that's Carrie. He just said baby.
And the funny thing about it, he did say something and his accent came out.
Shout out to Gary Bay, man.
Yeah, real talk. One of the realest. Glad to have him as a brother. But other than that, I mean, anybody got anything else they wanted to express to the community before we got started this rising?
Excuse me, can I share something?
Yes, you can.
All the time.
Man, get out there and talk with people in the community. You'd be surprised how many people, when it is a cause and it is something that you are putting together that helps the community, not just on your street, but just it could be in your whole city. You would be surprised how many people come together and utilize their resources or the people that they know or people that they know with equipment or tools or utensils or whatever it is and share it with you just so that you can create, establish, and implement what you need. I'm focused on community gardens. I'm just saying, I appreciate for real the help that I'm receiving, the equipment and everything. I genuinely appreciate it, and it makes me feel even better about doing what I'm doing because, man, it's a good feeling. Talk with people in the community. I mean, people know people and resources and things that you probably wouldn't even have to come out of pocket. Just saying. Resources, program, help, it's out there. Just get out there, talk with the people in the community, share your ideas, and yeah, people are all for things that help the community. Just saying. Just saying. Just saying.
No,
I got a yard full of stuff right now.
Anybody tell me nothing.
Man, I'm going to get dirt this week. Oh, ooh. Found something out yesterday. Okay, so I got a call. And I appreciate all this insight things that I Googled this when it was told to me. I was like, dang, I didn't even know this. So putting grits.
Oh, you use Google?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it wasn't that I didn't believe it. I just didn't understand. I didn't, Okay, so grits. Putting grits in your soil actually adds nutrients to the soil. Also, getting soil,
Hold up, Gabrielle. You trying to have somebody grandma in the South go upside somebody's head for dumping their grits in the ground? I'm just
saying.
Don't take it out your grandma's house. Don't take it out your grandma's house. Don't do that. Don't go. Don't
you gotta do that kind of stuff at your own. You heard?
You better go buy your own grits.
Yeah, go get your own grits. Go talk to. Don't go in grandma's house. Snatching up grandma grits.
A2, do not stamp that going to your grandma's house taking her grits. No.
Exactly. In the whole grit eating world, we don't.
Let it be known.
My cousin Vinny.
So those dried vegetables that you can buy, dried herbs and stuff like that. If you take those, the dried ones, if they say organic, okay, so this is what I'm going to be doing. The ones that say organic, I know there's not supposed to be, there's a discrepancy and debate on if this says organic, but this is the same thing, the cost or whatnot. Go talk to farmers. If you can talk to farmers, getting those dried fruits, vegetables, and herbs, grind them up finely and throw them in your soil. Also, if you're able to get soil from farmers, that's also good because the soil that they use is basically when they're tilling up their fields, any extra dirt, they're basically piling up, but they'll use it later, but it already has the nutrients and stuff needed for the soil to be good. If you can talk to someone who has land, if you're willing to do the work, if you can talk to someone who has land that they haven't done anything with. So let's say they have their house on their land, but they got a bunch of woods behind them. If they're willing to let you dig up that wooded area, especially with the trees and where it's shrubbery and stuff like that, if they're willing to let you dig up that area so that you can get that soil, because that soil is also good too. If you're willing to do that, get a couple of shovels, talk to some people, let you dig it up. Doesn't cost you a thing. Just having a conversation, just time. But that's also good for mixing in, getting those soils and mixing them in. Just saying, learn some stuff this weekend. Learn some stuff. I even asked the question. I said, look, I got white grits and I got yellow grits. Which one? It's like, you can use both. I said, okay. Grits it is.
I'm going to just use my grits.
Yeah, just not from your grandma's house.
Not them instant grits. Not them instant grits either.
What you mean the magic grits that cook on your magic
Yeah,
stove?
not them instant
Is
grits.
that on your stove that the water absorbed into the grit?
Yeah, I'm not talking about them instant grits you throw in a bag. You know what? I can make rice, right? But I cannot make instant rice. My instant rice always comes out soggy. Well, always did. Every time I tried it, it didn't work. I was just like, nah, I'm gonna just stick to what I know.
Last I checked, rice averages out at 20 minutes. How much more faster you need it than that?
No, it wasn't that. Okay, this is like some years ago. They were like, no, you should try it. It's still rice. When I got it, I was like, yeah, this look kind of translucent, but don't look like rice. Okay. Yeah, try it. Right. I can make real rice, but I can't do instant. I even tried instant grits. It just didn't work. I don't know why.
You tell me
I can make real rice. I can't make plastic rice.
If you're telling me throw hot water in it, stir it, blow on it for a minute, and it's done, I'm straight. I don't want it.
I mean, I'll try anything once. Well, not anything, but I'll try some things once to see.
Don't want it no more.
You better than me, Gabrielle. Because if you
bought a box.
I don't even own a microwave. Do you hear me? That's letting you know right there.
Bags.
I don't own a microwave.
Well, mine went out. I finally broke down, gave it to my children.
Weird to say I don't own a microwave.
See, I used to too. My children convinced me to get into the 20th century, so I got a microwave. Now it's out. I get to go back to. I don't have a microwave.
Children convince you of anything. They don't even know.
What my sister said. How do you warm your food up? My sister asked me, how do y'all warm your food up when it get cold? Eat it before it do.
Or they have these plates. I have these plates that you can put the food in the oven.
Oh man,
those metal plates.
I don't know.
Like the kind if you go to a restaurant and they give you your stuff.
I turned leftovers in the first time. It was like, this tastes like the first time. Wrap it in some parchment paper. Y'all better get away from that foil.
You said frog.
Foil. F-O-I-L. Foil. Foil. Stop cooking in foil, on top of foil. Heating foil. Eating foil.
They don't even make foil the same anymore.
Nope.
It's thinner.
This stuff is paper thin. I was about to say, yeah, exactly. I'm about to toss that in the dryer for a dryer sheet. Stop buying dryer sheets. Buy aluminum foil.
Yeah, they don't even make foil the same. It's all thin, tears easily.
Get it out your kitchen, put it in your laundromat. Hey, it's social distance. You got a laundromat at your house if you got a laundromat.
Listen, y'all know that is not aluminum foil. Y'all just know that is silver thin paper.
For real, spray painted.
I was about to say spray painted construction paper. That's silver kind of.
For real.
You know the silver
wax
paper that they use.
Is thicker than the foil that they make.
It's that silver paper, the silver paper that they use to wrap bubble gum in, but just the silver part.
Oh yeah,
that's how thin it is too.
Yeah,
the other side is paper.
Right. And even that candy wrapper is stronger because it don't tear easily.
All right, y'all, we better stop. We better stop before Reynolds be knocking on all three of our doors. What y'all got to say?
I heard you don't like this our foil.
Remember that?
What's wrong with our foil?
Remember that stuff on the show?
You're like, come here, y'all. My name Reynolds. Let me rap with you.
Oh man, why do I feel like there's like a villain on the way?
You feel
like a One Punch Man villain is like on the way right now. Reynolds rap. Is we live?
You know it.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure.
Oh yeah, my bad. I forgot for a second.
I know, right? You can't get too comfortable being live on the air now.
Man.
Slip up.
This every day.
Yeah, asking about Sunday. Oh, is it live? Oh, okay, no, it's Sunday.
I got this video for this morning dealing with nonprofits and funding dealing with the COVID, and it's directly from the Chamber of Commerce, United States Chamber of Commerce. So you're hearing it directly from the source.
Okay, that's what's up.
And it's dealing with direct funding with 501c and nonprofits dealing with the COVID-19. So if everybody ready, here we go.
I'm on mute.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Carolyn Colley, and I'm president of the U.S. Chamber of Commerce Foundation. I think it's fair to say that every nonprofit in America is being called on and being called to service like never before. All of us are being called on to continue to serve our mission while also making sure that our colleagues are healthy and safe and managing enormous increases in demand and planning for an uncertain future with uncertain resources. Here at the Chamber and the Chamber Foundation, our shared purpose, our North Star, is that no business or family should go bankrupt as a result of this pandemic. And so one of the best things we thought that we could do today is to help our colleagues in the nonprofit community get back on your feet and get back to critical missions. And that's why we've organized this briefing today. As all of you know, Congress last week passed a historic stimulus package. It's called the CARES Act, the Coronavirus Aid, Relief, and Economic Security Act. And you also know by now that nonprofits are included and eligible in some cases for that relief. But look, the legislation's 800 or 900 pages long and $2 trillion are at stake. So what does that mean for your nonprofit and for ours? At the foundation, we're so fortunate to have access to experts in the larger chamber who can help us understand this. And few people are as knowledgeable about the federal relief efforts and the CARES Act as my colleague Neil Bradley, the chamber's EVP and Chief Policy Officer. He and his teams have been working tirelessly with the administration and with Congress to ensure that the new legislation is designed to generate real benefits for the greatest number of people, including small businesses and including nonprofits. So it's great to have him with us today. I want to make sure everyone knows that you can submit questions through the Q&A bar on the side of your screen. Neil's got a short briefing and then we'll turn to Q&A. I think we're already anticipating getting a lot of questions, so we'll sift through them and go through themes and try to touch as many of your queries as possible. So I'll turn it over now to Neil Bradley for a briefing. Thanks, Neil, again for joining us.
Well, thank you, Carolyn. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be with you all today. And as Carolyn said, we have a short presentation we'll walk through that highlights the provisions of the CARES Act that are applicable to 501c3s. And so if we can advance to that next slide, we'll dive in depth into some of these provisions. If we'll go to the next one. All right, so here's the provisions we're going to cover today. The delay of payroll tax remittances, the employee retention credit, the Paycheck Protection Program, the economic injury disaster loans, also known as EIDL loans, and paid sick and FMLA leave. These are all provisions, the first four included in the CARES Act, the last included in the Phase 2 legislation that apply to nonprofits. Importantly, as we walk through these, you're going to want to pay attention to areas where these programs intersect and where taking the benefit of one program might deny you benefits on another program. So let's just start on the next slide with the delay of the payroll tax remittance. As you all know, as employers, including nonprofit employers, you have to pay payroll taxes that you submitted after paying your employees. Those payroll taxes consist of the employer and the employee portion. Under the CARES Act, an employer may delay the payment of their portion of the payroll taxes. This is that 6.2% Social Security tax between now and 1/1/21. So we get a full year of kind of delay. Then in terms of paying it back, this is not forgiveness, it's a deferral, and 50% is due on December 31st, 2021, and the remainder is due on December 31st, 2022. So there's an opportunity here to improve liquidity today by holding on to the employer portion of the payroll taxes and paying those at the end of 2021 and 2022. Importantly, this loan forgiveness does not apply to an employer, including a nonprofit, that has a loan forgiven under the Paycheck Protection Program. We'll talk a little bit about that next. as we move to our next slide. Sorry, before we get to that, we'll do one more, the employee retention credit. This is a brand new provision that was not in the initial drafts of the CARES Act, but showed up right before the Senate voted on it. And this is a provision that's really targeted to employers, particularly nonprofit employers, who have essentially been forced to partially or completely shut down. Their employees are not working, but they're continuing to pay them. And so the parts that are applicable to the small business community is that, or the nonprofit community, is that you have to be fully or partially shut down. It must apply to all aspects of your organization. If during that shutdown for a quarter of a calendar year, you continue to pay your employees, you get a tax credit for 50% of the wages up to $10,000 per employee. So think about this as a $5,000 tax credit for nonprofits who continue to pay their employees even though the operation of the nonprofit is shut down. Again, employers are not eligible to receive this retention tax credit if they receive a loan under the Paycheck Protection Program. And we'll go to that one now next. All right, this is the one that's getting the most attention. The Paycheck Protection Program is a $349 billion loan program that's targeted to small businesses, the self-employed, independent contractors, and 501c3s. 501c3s with fewer than 500 employees. So basically, they've incorporated the definition of small businesses and added C3s into that. As a small nonprofit employer, you're entitled to a loan that's equal to 2.5 times your average monthly payroll, but not to exceed $10 million. These loans are going to be made by local and national lenders. Just about an hour ago, Treasury Secretary Mnuchin announced that these loans would begin being available on Friday, and that in addition to the traditional SBA 7A lenders, he anticipated that all FDIC insured depository institutions and credit unions had the opportunity to apply over the next 4 days to also offer these loans. We fully anticipate that this is going to be a program where your likely first and hopefully last stop is your normal traditional bank. There are very minimal requirements under this, no collateral, no personal guarantee. Here's the important part, particularly for nonprofits. There's the opportunity to convert the loan into a grant. Now, the amount of that is set in statute by looking at what the nonprofit employer spends on certain expenses in the 8 weeks following the origination of the loan. So in the 8 weeks after the origination of your loan under this program, you'll calculate every dollar that you spend on payroll, that you spend on rent, on any interest on a mortgage tied to the nonprofit, and your utilities. You will add all of those things up, and that is your eligible pool for dollar forgiveness. However, that amount of loan forgiveness can be reduced if your number of FTEs has been reduced relative to the benchmark period in 2019 or the first 2 months of 2020. Understand that Congress's goal in this was to provide money to employers and have the employers to keep supporting and paying their employees. It's also similarly reduced if you're paying your employees, but you've cut their paychecks by more than 25%. So you can reduce wages and salaries some, you just can't reduce them by more than 25%. Now, we all know that there's lots of small businesses and nonprofits that have already had to lay folks off in the midst of this. What about them? The employer, in this case the nonprofit, can avoid the reduction in the loan forgiveness if they bring the employees back, if they restore their wages, generally within the next month, and they maintain those employees through June 30. Again, think about Congress's intent here. It was to provide money, first in the form of a loan, but then with an incentive to convert it into a grant if employers, including nonprofits, keep their employees on the payroll. Let's go to the next program that is available to nonprofits. Well, here, by the way, if you're interested in learning more, we have a special guide and checklist specifically for 501c3s. And there are 4 steps on this guide: figuring out if you're eligible, 2, figuring out what loan amounts you might be able to borrow and help you calculate that, 3, understanding what you're going to need when you go see your lender. And 4th, understanding how the loan forgiveness works so that you're appropriately planning as you decide whether or not to take on one of these loans. We're going to next go to the program that's available also to nonprofits. And this is, if we go to the next slide, the EIDL program, the Economic Injury Disaster Loans. These programs are available to nonprofits, all 501Cs, including faith-based organizations with fewer than 500 employees. These are the loans that you may be familiar with if you've navigated a hurricane or a tornado or some other natural disaster and you've gone to the SBA for a disaster loan. This is that same program. It's just been modified to make it a little bit easier for folks to access as a result of the coronavirus. You can borrow up to $2 million in working capital on a loan up to 30 years. It's 2 3/4% interest rate for nonprofits. Payments are deferred for up to 1 year. The loan is based on the credit scores. You don't have to provide returns. Up to $200,000 can be provided without a personal guarantee, and there's no collateral for loans under $25,000. Importantly, for some nonprofits is a new aspect of this that was implemented in the bill signed into law on Friday, and that's a $10,000 emergency grant. If you are applying for an EIDL loan and you specify that you have immediate needs, you can request a $10,000 emergency grant that's supposed to be provided to you within 3 days. Importantly, that grant does not have to be repaid. Even if you don't get the loan, you applied for the loan, you requested the grant, you got the grant, but then you don't get the loan, you still don't have to pay back the $10,000. However, this interacts with the Paycheck Protection Program. So if you get an EIDL loan and the $10,000 grant, and then you're separately getting a Paycheck Protection Program loan, they're going to fold that into that so you don't get forgiveness for the same amount twice. Unlike the Paycheck Protection Program, this is not done traditionally through your local lender. You go through the Small Business Administration. You can apply today at SBA.gov. Now we're going to go to the final elements of this, and we'll cover this very quickly so we can get to your questions. An element that perhaps has been overlooked, particularly in the nonprofit community, is the application from the Phase 2 bill of paid sick and family leave requirements. Under the bill, under the now statute, the law, employers with fewer than 500 employees are required to provide 10 days of paid sick leave if it's related to COVID-19. The pay is at your regular rate if you're sick, but capped at $511 per day. If you're caring for a family member, it's 2/3 of your normal rate at $200 per day. Importantly, this paid sick leave is 100% reimbursed by the federal government. It's a refundable tax credit against your payroll taxes that you pay as an employer, and you'll get this money back. And understanding that liquidity is often a problem, Treasury is in the process of scaling this so that they can provide you advances on your future refundable tax credit so that you can manage providing sick leave for your employees. The same thing, if we go to the next slide, is generally applicable with respect to paid leave. This is 10 weeks of paid leave, but it only applies in the sense that you have an employee who needs to take care of a child due to a school or daycare closure. And again, here it's 2/3 of the rate of pay, maximum of $200 a day or $10,000 overall. And here again, you will get reimbursed by the federal government. So I know that was a lot to cover, but I also know people have lots of questions. So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to Carolyn, and we can go to your questions on these programs.
Sure. I'm not seeing quite any questions roll in right this second. Let's see. Okay, this is going to get this seems a little complicated, Neil, but let me read it to you. Our organization was started in 2017. However, our first full budgeted year to begin was 2020. In 2018 and 2019, we worked on building a strong business model and board of directors. would we qualify by submitting a soft 2018-2019 budget and a full statement of activities for 2020?
So for many of these programs, they've really tried to streamline the applications, and they're not asking for budget docs. Now, if you're going a traditional EIDL loan at the SBA, it might be a situation where they're asking for budgetary documents and they're looking at past tax records and the opportunity to review those. Again, however, the lower the dollar amount, the more they've expedited this. The general requirement for most of these loan programs is you had to be in existence kind of before the coronavirus outbreak. So for some of them, you had to be in existence by January 31st of 2020. For others, February 15th of 2020. And then they have certain rules. If for example, you can't look back to 2019 because maybe you didn't have any employees at the time, or you had significantly fewer, you generally have options to use, for example, the first 2 months of 2020 as your reference time period. So I would not assume, because of the situation you described, that you're ineligible for any of these loans or grants. They've really tried to design these in a way that even individuals in the situation that you described can access them.
Got it. Thanks, Neil. Okay, next question. What is PPA? Do I just go to my local bank? What is the best way to navigate the process when I'm there? So I think that's a real question people have, is can you go back to who are lenders and who do I go to talk about that?
Sure. So this is the Paycheck Protection Program. Again, this is the loan that's equal to 2.5 times your average monthly payroll that can be forgiven based on what you spend after taking out the loan. The loan program is designed to go through private lenders. And so by statute, if lenders who are already SBA 7A designated lenders, and you can look at that up online, you can ask your lender, are you a 7A lender? If they're already a 7A lender, they're already qualified to offer this product on behalf of the federal government. In addition, Treasury is going to be designating other financial institutions. And what the Treasury Secretary said today, which is what we anticipated, is that they're opening it up to all FDIC-backed institutions, credit unions, and some even fintech companies who have background in this area to apply to tell Treasury, we want to be able to offer this. And what Secretary Mnuchin said is that we expect, in fact, he didn't say expect, he said, we will have loans available that people can borrow beginning on Friday. Now, how do you prepare between now and Friday? The guide that we referenced, I think if you go to the slide after this, you'll be able to see on the Paycheck Protection. I don't know if they can pull that up or not, but yeah, there we are. The learn more about it, uschamberfoundation.org/C3 loans walks through 4 things that you can be thinking about between now and going to see your lender. The first thing you're going to want to think about is, am I eligible? Generally, if you have fewer than 500 employees as a C3, you're eligible. The second thing you're going to want to think about is, what kind of stuff do I need to be gathering up to bring to my lender? What are they going to ask? And this guide walks through that. The third thing is, well, how do I calculate how much I can borrow? And it walks through all the things that are calculated in terms of your average monthly payroll expenses, so that you can multiply that and figure out what your loan amount should be. And then fourth, it tells you how to begin thinking through the loan forgiveness. One thing we would encourage you to think about is, before you take out the loan, if you're betting on it, counting on it being forgiven, make sure that you understand the parameters for that forgiveness, and so that you're going in eyes wide open about what the law says is expected of you in order to achieve that forgiveness.
Great, thank you, Neil. All right, next question, and this is about forgiveness, a little more specificity. Can you expand on the following? The amount forgiven is limited to the extent that compensation and headcount are reduced relative to a base period, and any amount forgiven will not be taxable to the borrower as it otherwise would have been.
That's
you
correct. We'll
expand
start
on
with that last part. Generally, loan forgiveness can be taxable to a borrower as income. This is not taxable to the borrower as income in this instance. The way that there's math involved. It's not complicated math. It's simply multiplication and division. But the way to think about it is this. If you had 10 employees and you've cut your head count by 10% versus the base period, like where you were last year, then you're likely to lose roughly 10% of the value of the loan forgiveness that you would otherwise qualify for. So the things that are going to drive your loan forgiveness amount are how much are you spending in the 8 weeks after taking the loan, after loan origination? That's the first element of it. And then the second element of it is, am I maintaining my employee headcount and am I keeping their wages at least 75% of what they were before? If you get those two things right, you should be on a path to get most, if not all, of the loan forgiven.
Great, thanks for that clarity. All right, someone is asking, can you please explain again the interplay of the three provisions?
Well, as a general matter, what they're trying to do is prevent nonprofits or businesses from availing themselves of three benefits for the same expense. And so the interaction generally works like this. The Paycheck Protection Program is the most generous provision because it's a loan that converts into a grant. So if you're going to take advantage of that, you lose your ability to defer the payment of employer payroll taxes. If you take advantage of the Paycheck Protection because it's the most valuable, you lose your ability to get the employee retention tax credit. Because, by the way, that's what you got the loan for that converts to a grant, is to retain your employees ostensibly. So you can't also get another tax credit in favor of that. The interactions between the EIDL loans, this is the SBAs, is really just making sure in limited instances you don't get money for the same expense twice. So the real way to think about this is, if you're stacking up these things, if you take the Paycheck Protection loan because it converts to a grant, you're going to lose the ability to access those other things, particularly your payroll tax deferral and the employee retention tax credit.
Great, thanks. All right, here's a future-looking question for you, Neil. How long will these funds be available? Could the funds be, dried up? Do you anticipate that there will be a second tranche if this pandemic continues far into the future?
Yeah, so most of these programs are available through the end of the calendar year, through the end of calendar year 2020. And so there are some, to the extent that you're worried that we're fine today, but I'm worried about tomorrow or a week from now or a month from now, there is generally the ability to avail yourselves of these benefits a month from now. It is possible, particularly with respect to the loan programs that convert to grants. There's a fixed dollar amount attached to those, and it's possible that they could run out. What the Treasury Secretary said today, which I agree with, and I think this is the most likely, is should that be the case, these funds will be replenished, but it'll have to be replenished by Congress. Just to give you some sense, by the way, of magnitude, $350 billion is roughly equivalent to the entire payroll expenses for all employers with fewer than 500 employees for a month and a half or 6 weeks. So they didn't just pick 350 because it was a nice round number. The 350 is actually tied to what we know about payroll expenses for employers with fewer than 500 employees.
Okay, great. Well, as predicted, people have, a lot of questions around the payroll protection piece. Here's one about temporary employees. Does it apply to temps, and other employee situations that you would include in the loan calculation exercise?
Yeah, you'll want to look through in our guide, but which gets into some of these issues. But as a general matter, for example, it doesn't differentiate between full-time and part-time. The real issue is are they on your payroll? For example, a related question I get a lot is, well, I pay a lot of independent contractors. Does what I pay independent contractors and I send them 1099s, does that roll up into this? It does not. Now, importantly, your 1099s are themselves potentially eligible for the exact same Paycheck Protection Program, but you're not borrowing money to pay your independent contractor. So you're going to want to think, am I employing this temp as a temp and I'm counting them on my payroll? Or is it a situation in which I'm paying an agency, I'm sending them a 1099 miscellaneous income, and they're paying the employee?
Got it. Thank you. Well, listen, I think we've got upward of 6,000 people joining this webinar, and I want to be mindful of people's time. We've got about 5 minutes left, and I can do another question. But Neil, if you're game to stay for a few more past 1 o'clock, we'd love to have you.
I'd be happy to. Thank you.
Okay, good. I know you've got nothing else happening today as well. Okay, next question. What if my organization's future income is reduced because of the economic environment that we're in, and I'm not able to financially employ people going forward? Would this be taken into consideration? So I guess it's not my current people, it's if I have to become a smaller organization in the future.
So to the extent that you're receiving, if you go back to the payroll protection program or the employee retention, those benefits are really designed around the idea that you're maintaining your current employee headcount, and we're giving you benefits in the form of a tax credit or a forgivable loan in exchange for doing that. So now the question is, how long does this go on? Am I required to maintain, if I have 25 employees, do I have to maintain 25 employees for the next year? No. What they're looking at, particularly for the Paycheck Protection Program, is a window. So they're looking at what are you doing in the next 30 days and what can you do through June 30th as kind of the criteria for whether you're maintaining your payroll. On the retention tax credit side, you only get that for each quarter that you maintain that employee and pay them, although it's not more than $10,000 in aggregate in total for each employee. So they're not really thinking about kind of the long term here. What they're really trying to do is provide assistance to you over the next couple of months to maintain your current payroll.
All right, next question. If I have employees who are on unemployment prior to April 1st, do we have options to continue their health insurance benefits?
Generally do. You would want to check with your plan provider and find out what their requirements are with respect to your plan. But we definitely know of employers who have furloughed, who are continuing to provide some level of health benefits. But again, that you'd want to check with your plan provider.
Are there other benefits that we should be thinking about here?
Well, as individuals, for example, there are automatic tax rebates that are coming, $1,200 per individual, $2,400 for a couple, plus $500 for each dependent child. That phases out at $75,000 in individual income, $150,000 in joint income. We also know that despite all of these programs, there are lots of people who are facing layoffs. They have greatly expanded the unemployment program. There are a couple things that you want to think about. I was talking to some family friends over the weekend who their children have been laid off because of this, and they think they don't meet the normal unemployment insurance requirements. They likely meet the requirements now under the law that got adapted on Friday evening. So don't assume, if you have folks in that situation, that they're ineligible. What Congress has done is really broaden the eligibility for unemployment And the second thing they've done is they've increased the benefits. So it'll be your standard benefit that you get under your state calculation. It varies from state to state, plus another $600 per week. And so, if folks find themselves in the unfortunate situation of being laid off, you should understand that there are enhanced unemployment benefits available.
All right, thank you. The next question is about types of organizations. Can you verify that that religious organizations can apply for the PPA? And also, what about C6 organizations? So religious organizations and C6s.
So C6s are not eligible for the Paycheck Protection Program. It is limited to 501c3s. There's nothing in the statute that limits it to that would preclude faith-based organizations. And in fact, we did a call with the SBA administrator. By the way, there's nothing that says explicitly faith-based either. There's nothing that limits it. The comments of the SBA administrator was that their policy was they wanted to make this broadly available, including to faith-based institutions.
All right. Again, going back to the PPA, can you clarify what goes into the calculation of 2.5 months of payroll?
This is one of the things, and I'm afraid I might miss something because it's in the guide that lays all of this out. But you should generally think about it as, what does it cost each month to maintain your payroll? And what goes into that is obviously the pay that you pay your employees, but also the pro rata, apportioned cost of providing them with health insurance. Those are the two biggest things that are going to drive your number there. There are also some other things. For example, if you provide paid leave benefits, that can go into the calculation as well. If you have retirement programs or severance packages, that can get folded into the monthly cost as well. But the two biggest drivers are going to be what you actually pay your employees, and then your cost as an employer of providing them health care.
Great. Well, thank you. We just had one question roll. It's actually not a question. It just says, thank you for doing this, Neil. So they took the words right out of my mouth.
We're glad to. One of our goals is, this is going to be a perilous time, right? And people are making real-time decisions, and all of this is so new. We can't tell you what the right decision is for your organization. You got to understand, you know your financials, et cetera. But the least we can do is make sure you know that the options are out there, and so you can figure out what might work best for you. Understanding that it's probably going to be different for individual organizations.
Well, thank you again, Neil, and to everyone who joined us for this call. I hope it was useful and productive. As Neil said, these are uncharted waters for all of us, and the nonprofit community, I think, has never been more important. So good luck, be healthy, be safe, and be in touch. If you didn't catch the URL and the explainer document that Neil mentioned earlier, we'll be sure to send that around to all the registrants, and you can find it on our website as well. So thank you everyone for joining, and thanks Neil for being our explainer. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Live. Peace, everyone. We back. Hope the information in the video was very helpful. And again, it's briefing on funding for 501c3 nonprofits, walking you through the steps on what you have to do to get it, what the expectations could be. And as there's more information coming out with funding for businesses, local communities, even down to individuals, we will do our part to make sure the most accurate information is put out. Anybody got thoughts and feelings on how there is funding during this time for small businesses and nonprofits to continue to conduct business, to make sure that the employees, that if you have them, are still taken care of during this time where lot of people are not working. The majority of the population at home, and people still have utilities they have to pay for.
Wait, ask the question again.
No, I was basically on your thoughts on the different fundings and stuff for different programs and individuals during this COVID-19.
Yeah, there's a lot of programs out there. There's a lot of funding. Also, if it's something dealing with someone's job where they were told, let go, or just told like you're not let go, but we can't do the hours right now, with whatever the company is doing, they also have, if it's specifically with being employed, they also have a lot of companies that have transitioned to having it to where you basically work for home. You still work for the company, but you're working from home. Those are options too. And even still with having your own business, again, there is funding out there. The application doesn't take long. Submitting the information doesn't take long at all. Like, again, shout out to A2. Thank you, Bones. There were several people. Go ahead.
I was saying shout out to you.
There were several people because of Friday's show, printing out that application. There were several people that I shared the information with, and they were able to fill out the form, put in their information, and 2 people said that they had already gotten the funding. So that statement that's on there where it says you could receive the funding either that day or within 3 days, that's actually true. 2 of the people that I know that implemented the application and the form, they've already got funding. 2 of several people. Yes, saying, I'm just saying.
Yes, and correct, Mike Easton. It does apply to independent contractors as well. So
Yes.
as well, yes. You do not have to have a major corporation with tons of employees. Matter of fact, the companies that have less than 500 are the ones in the head of the list.
Yeah. One of the persons that I shared the information with, they have a total of 5 employees. They own their business, and they have a total of 5 employees.
And basically, like if in the video how I told you, it was done to help everyday citizens, the employees, the ones that depend on getting paid every week, bi-weekly, so they can pay their bills. That's why people call it a loan. It's only a loan if you choose to do the wrong thing with it. If you choose to do the right thing on what it's designed for, it becomes a forgivable grant.
Okay. So getting into detail. Ooh, I'm sorry, Handsome. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, I was just letting people know, for people who keep saying, oh, why would you want to get a loan right now? It's only a loan if you do the wrong thing with it.
Correct.
You take care of payroll, business expenses, the things that you need for the business running, then you do not pay this money back.
Correct. Okay, so this is how it breaks down. When you fill out the application, you're going to get an email response. You may not get it that day, but you're going to get an email response. Now, here's the thing. You have to, whatever loan amount you receive or apply for, whatever the case may be, whatever loan amount you receive, you have to spend a minimum of 75% of that loan for your expenses or payroll and expenses dealing with your company. Period. Your business, even if it's a small business, 75% of the funds that you receive have to be spent for the upkeep for payroll and expenses dealing with the company, dealing with the business. In addition to, make sure that you keep your receipts for the things that you spend, because that is what you're going to use to show proof that what the funds that you received, where those funds went. Again, you have to spend at least a minimum of 75% of the funds that you receive on payroll and the maintaining of your business. That's
and
not.
they still worked it out, and they still worked it out for you, because let's say you don't use 75%. Let's say you only use 58%. Then that rest of the percentage, You have 2 years to pay that back at what? A max at 0.5% interest.
Yep. Exactly. Exactly.
So if you use 20% of it towards something else outside of the business, then that 20%, you're responsible to pay that back at only 0.5% interest over 2 years.
Correct. So it's still one of those things where they're still putting it in such a way where they're still looking out for you. So yeah, you're right, Bones. Even if you don't spend that minimum of 75%, they still give you 2 years with a 0.5% interest rate on it to pay it back. In addition to when you do spend 75% of the funds that you receive on the business, that's also tax forgivable. You pay no taxes on it.
Whatsoever, tax-free.
At all.
It doesn't affect your income tax return. It doesn't affect your net profit. None of it.
Nope.
Affect your business.
Nope. I read that thing so many times, sharing the information. I was like,
yeah, that's why we just got the video from them directly to air it, since we've been answering so many questions. I think I got 2 more walkthroughs of the SBA, small business form. I'm like, listen, can we get everybody in the room at one time? We can hold 100 people now, so everybody at one time.
Listen, I mean, I was getting the questions like, wait, so how much no, it's tax forgivable. You don't pay tax. No, wait a minute. Show me. So it was, it's not what I'm saying. No, read this. It's on their website. It's right here, part of the application. Like, don't take my word for it. Yep. You sure? You sure? I'm trying. Listen, look, we gonna go through this step by step.
Read it for self. Read it for self.
Yes.
It's there step by step.
Yes. So I can pay yes, you can cover your employees. You don't have to.
Some people be like, well, I work from home. Well, your home is your office, and that mortgage, your rent, and the utilities need to get paid for so you can continue to do business.
This is correct.
You see how it works? Again, more programs and things that are designed, if you was to use them for your benefit and use it the right way, that it's a plus. Mm-hmm. It's a plus for communities. It's a plus for individuals. How many communities are suffering right now because members of that community aren't working right now, aren't bringing in a salary? I mean, instead of sometimes sitting back, getting mad, saying the government is this, the government is that, when are we going to realize we are the government? And the reason why our community does get the short end of the stick, because we don't participate at a high level to make a decent change.
Exactly.
That it's all participation. And I'll say it again, this situation, if you use it right, you can use this time to start putting things in place to set you on the road to becoming more self-sufficient. I mean, it's there and it's not going anywhere. And the only bad thing about it is the longer that we procrastinate and getting up and taking some action, the greater chance that you're going to let someone who don't look like you or someone who doesn't have your same interests or community interests in mind be the ones that take advantage of the programs. I mean, Gabrielle, when you applied for the funding for school and all this, did they ask you any questions on your background, where you come from, what you look like?
No. They just wanted to make sure that I was going to use the funds for something beneficial, not only to they wanted to know my goals. They just wanted to know, okay, what do you want these funds for? Okay, it benefits you now, but how is it going to benefit you 5 years from now? They just wanted to make sure that I didn't have a right now plan. They wanted to make sure I had a right now and going forward plan. So 5 years from now, what do you hope to accomplish? And I let them know, not only do I want to extend on my education, but the education that I'm asking for the funds for will also go towards making sure that within the next year, I'll have a business based around the extended education I'm getting.
And what's funny to me is, why do we act like because there's checks and balances with people giving you money, that mean that there's something wrong? When every last one of us in our life, if someone was to ask you for some money, your first response is, for what?
Exactly.
So if even on the individual level, if we're investing money in each other or giving money to people, you're asking for what? Wouldn't it make the same sense if they're giving you grants and loans that they're asking you for what? To make sure that if they're giving you access to large amounts of resources, that you're actually doing what states in your constitution and bylaws. I mean, there got to be checks and balances. Come on, human beings, we had the choice to be some of the best, but within that same breath, the worst of the worst.
Man, I saw this commercial this weekend, right? And the commercial, it was 3 people sitting in the living room, and there was a piece of pie, a plate on the table, and 2 people were like, you want it? You gonna get it? No, you gonna get it? No, you gonna get it? So the person that was sitting in the middle didn't even join in the back and forth. They just snatched up the piece and started eating it, and both the people that were going back and forth just looked like, I was gonna get that. I was gonna eat that. I'm just saying, I'm gonna put it out there. I'm the one in the middle listening to the 2 on the side. You gonna get it? You gonna get it? Nah, I'm gonna just go ahead and get this myself. I wanted that. I'm just saying.
Just like anything else, if it's something that you want, you got to get up and do the things that make it possible.
Man, for real.
Fall into your lap. And Gabrielle, you said something that's so true. Something that I learned years ago was that when you start moving and start doing these things, you'll be surprised on how many of the entities and individuals go out of their way to help you succeed.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. There are people thinking about me, keeping me in their thoughts when they run across stuff. They have a conversation with someone. Like, this is becoming more. It's just becoming more than what I thought it was going to be.
And I told you in the beginning, it has the potential to move fast.
Yeah.
That you might think it might take a couple of years to get certain things started, but not really.
Yeah, I was thinking a year from now. I mean, I got people calling me and I'm like, oh, this gonna take weeks. Like, wait a minute. Okay, I'm catching up. I was up at 3:30 today. I'm just saying, doing stuff because of the calls that I was getting over the weekend and telling me, okay, hey, we're going to come pick you up and we're going to take you to this farmer. We're going to come pick you up and we're going to take you to this lady. She could get your seeds. Like, I was like, oh, let me break out all my tank tops and my workout pants. Let me get all my tennis shoes out, because that's what this week going to be like. Tennis shoe week. I'm just saying, like, yeah.
Sneaker week.
Sneaker week.
It's good addition that you can add on to it. You see how school is out, right?
Mm-hmm.
During the evenings, you can probably work in your area with the Boys and Girls Club and different youth organizations to bring the children in once you get it set up to teach them farming and basic growing skills.
Absolutely. I had to talk with somebody because, well, you know kind of how the backyard is set up. So I was like, all right, I need to move some stuff around, make the front part of the backyard where the fruit trees are. So when the gate to the backyard is open, like that part up to the fruit trees is accessible. So I can set up like the raised beds, and it just got some people coming out to help me clean up some stuff, cut some stuff.
I mean, the creativity on what you can do, you can even open it up as community service hours for people that got to do community service for college, for particular.
Bones, you giving up the ghost again.
Oh, I'm back in
Yes.
the corner. I'm going in the corner. My bad.
No.
Because
It's cool.
I was
It's cool.
there.
Look,
I was there.
we inspired, so we can do that.
I mean, again, it just shows that.
Oh, I'm going
Yeah.
to Dollar Tree to get those net hat. Oh my goodness. Hold on.
Yeah, it's just being creative with it. It's that a lot of the things. Yeah, a
My
lot of the
bad.
things that you would need are already in your already in your community, right up under your.
Absolutely.
And it's just involving your community, making people aware of what your intention is, how you see it in a year, 3 years, up to 5 years. So people can see if I invest my time or even invest my money, I can see how it benefits me, my community, my loved ones down the line. Because when people say our people are visual people, so let's use that to our advantage.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like the conversation, what was it, last weekend? When I was talking with one of my buddies and we was talking about the census. And I mentioned to him that, yeah, it's $12,000 a household. What do you say? Hold on, where's that? When I feel of that. You know what I'm saying? It's just
It was midnight. He was trying to get up out the chair.
Man,
midnight. He trying to feel of that.
you
12.
just
Hold on.
reminded me. Can I share something real quick?
You know you can.
I got another automated message over the weekend from the mayor, and this message a little bit similar to the first one. Voluntarily, distance and all that stuff. But also he expanded a little bit more on the census, letting people know, hey, you still can participate in the census, even if apparently, people were saying I didn't receive a census in the mail. So some addresses, and I guess it's depending on like if they're renting, I guess that address is registered to the owner, and if that owner owns several houses. So on the automated message, it was saying, we still urge you can go get the form, pick up the form, or go online. But the way he expanded on it was just like, so many people, and I understood it because I had talked to a couple of people who were like, I don't know. And I felt like I was having a conversation, pleading and convincing them of all the things, telling them, look, go on Census Bureau's website. It's on here. Don't worry about, if you think your information is going to be shared or whatever the case may be. But yeah, it was 400, and I remember the number now. It was $420 million for 2000 and 2010. That the city lost funds on. Again, Census Day may have been April 1st, but
a lot of people.
When I heard that number, I was like, dang, and it shows.
A lot of people would be like, why would that matter? Well, look at it this way. That $4.8 million, that's funding from the state to that city for community block development grants, for community service programs, for SBAs, for rural development.
Correct.
So when you don't participate, you basically remove resources from you and your community.
To be
making
honest,
it harder for yourself to get a solid foot and moving forward. No, go ahead, Gabrielle.
No, I apologize. I just wanted to add that participation is why I was able to apply for the community block grant to get funding for what I'm doing, period. So having
one more
that
time for the nosebleeds. One more time.
that participation, that funding is why I was able to put my application and apply for the community block grant for funding for what I'm doing, period. So if I don't participate going forward, if I want to go next year and apply for funding, well, if that funding is not there because I and several other people didn't participate, what you doing?
I have a question for you, Gabrielle.
Huh?
All these resources that you have access to, the information that you choose to research on your own to take further.
Mm-hmm.
How much did you pay for this?
Oh, shoot.
Hey, dog. Hey, swear jar.
I said shoot. Pew, 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 pew. Time. That's it. Just my attention, my time. I did not listen. I have a yard full of potteries, pots, plants, hangers, all this stuff for gardening, everything, the tools. I did not pay 1 red cent, 1 silver dime, 1 silver quarter, 1 green and tan dollar. I didn't pay anything but time.
I got a question. How much A2 charge?
Oh, y nada.
What kind of currency is that?
Nothing. And again, shout out to A2, Hitachi Disassembly. Man, look. I mean, I know I jumped through windows, but jump through them windows. Them links can lead you to applications.
You didn't have to give up no personal information or anything to get help?
Nope. You know, when I filled out the application, they didn't even ask for my social security number.
Hold on, what?
Nope.
What application are you talking about?
All right, hold on.
Community block grant.
Did you have to fill out? But they got you on the A2 application, right?
Who?
You had to fill out the A2 application to get access to services, right?
No, I just called y'all and y'all had a conversation with me. No.
We don't got no applications?
Nope.
What I'm waiting for? Oh, man. Let me call myself.
Hold on, what you saying we not the paper people?
Nope. Not unless you count the stuff that you guys have on the form that I printed out.
That would initially make you the paper person.
Okay. I'm just saying. Nah. Ain't no paper people here. Anybody think that? They confused. They is not on A2's website. Don't know where they at, but they clicked left.
I got it, no sellout. She had to take an oath. Yeah, who you had to give an oath to?
The creator, the ancestors, and my family. Myself. Me, myself, and I.
Oh, man.
Ain't no oath. I mean, except for just be honest and true. Like, I don't know, be real, I mean, the moral stuff. And that's not even an oath. That's like a moral compass thing. Like, where you at? I don't know. No oath. No.
Where you at with it?
No.
Man, how much they paid you for this advertisement?
I keep telling y'all, look, y'all let me call in. Y'all let my weird, corny behind stay on, and I appreciate it. Y'all accepted my weird behind. So, I mean...
I say it all the time. This is the Urban American Indians' home. If you choose to use it, the door's open.
Man, I chose, and I chose wisely. But no, all seriousness, all jokes aside, there was no oath. There was no paperwork. Y'all actually helped me get some serious things situated and helped me to implement some positive things that I had always been wanting to do. I just didn't know where to start. So the information you guys have shared with me has not cost me a thing. I've not one time have ever been asked to donate, Cash App, PayPal, none of that crap. I mean, for real. Any question, I say I got a question. Y'all say okay. Hopefully we got an answer. And y'all don't play around with answers too either. Like they just generally don't. If it's something that they may not know the answer to, they're real honest about it. In addition to being real honest about it, if they don't know, then they'll talk to someone or find help me to find the answer. So it's not like it's just, man, look. I got legit stuff going on in my life that have everything to do with getting honest guidance, honest answers to legit funding and legit programs that actually exist with legit companies, with legit governments. I'm just saying. And I know you said plenty of times, Bones, you're not saying this is the only way. But for me, yeah, nah, this is the only way for me. Can't nobody tell me different.
It's just showing proof that by participating, by coming together as communities, that we can accomplish and deal with our daily needs. That we don't have to wait for someone else to come do it for us. That we don't have to take a radical position to be like we're outside of our government and we're this and we're that. We don't have to do none of that. All we have to do is handle the responsibility that's right in front of our faces.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
That if there's a problem with our communities, you don't need everybody in your community to activate. Get the like-minded ones in the community that's willing to activate right now. Because if you sit back waiting for everybody, guess what? You, the like-minded ones, and the ones that disagree are all stuck in the end. So the best thing that you can do is move forward with the like-minded individuals that you have. Everybody get it at different times. And if people are not receiving the information right now, don't beat yourself upside the head with it. The best you can do is inform. You inform and you apply the information in your life. What you gonna say, Gabrielle?
Mic check.
I was about to say, I know she didn't find a window.
Oh, wait, can you hear me?
No.
Wait, did I double click? I was talking on mute. Okay, my bad. So what I was going to say is that I talked to a couple of people, okay? And those couple of people, and actually, let me be specific. I talked to 4 people. Those 4 people literally turned into 10 people. Those 10 people turned into 16 people. I'm okay with 16 people. I'm okay with that because those 16 people know other people. Like it just, my number is being passed along and people, hey, I talked to so-and-so and so-and-so. They said you're trying to do this. Hey, let me give you this advice and let me tell you this. And you know what? I'm going to keep you in mind if I come across this and I'm going to make, man, look, when Bones says, just get with like-minded people. When you just talk to a couple of like-minded people, you don't know who people know. But if you're doing something positive that's going to help, yeah, they're going to talk about you to someone else in a positive way.
Mm-hmm.
If you build it, it will grow. Okay, my bad. It just popped into my mind.
That do me.
Just saying. If you talk about it, they will come. If you build it, it will grow. If you plant it, it will grow. All it takes is time. And I mean, this is what I've been spending. I've been spending time, and I'm definitely okay with time. I'm definitely okay with work. Hard work really does pay off.
And look at the future benefit moving forward off of what you just simply done up to this point.
Yeah. And I mean, again, like this is moving faster than I expected. I'm learning a whole lot that all positive, all positive. I'm not complaining, all positive. This is moving in such a way that I didn't think it was going to move this way. I'm having conversations with more people than I thought I was going to have conversations with. I mean, people are saying, yes, we got to get the young people back in here. They'll love it. Got to get the children. I'm like, really? Yes. Okay. Just
But
saying.
think about it. It ties back into now the youth farming program that
Mm-hmm.
you have the capabilities now to have youth farming now. And the benefit from that is you give the future generation something to do that teaches them a needed skill on producing for themselves. And also at the same time, that program knocks out that 3-year requirement. So you can access other funding just by involving the youth. Think about it. You get a year just by involving the youth into it. That's a year worth of credit alone.
I had completely forgot about that. Thank you.
Think about it. Now, if you have a large population of minorities that's getting services from there, hold on, that's a whole nother year knocked out. Whoa. You only need 3 years, and it broke down how you can get them years knocked out by doing particular services. And all you got to do now is take them a couple of months of online classes, and that's your 3 years within 1 year. But then again, it's up to the individual how they want to develop it and the pace that they want to move it at. But it can be done.
Again, I don't know how far and how big this is going to go, but I ain't stopping.
We're going to ride it till the wheels fall off, pull over, put them back on, and start it again.
You know what I mean? I ain't slashing my other 3 tires.
I can change the tire.
For real.
But again, at the end of the day, it's just about presenting the information to show what can be done by participating. What can be done when we decide to develop businesses in the communities where we reside. What can be done if we choose to build the institutions to service our communities.
Right.
That as far if we as communities wanted to change legislation, the possibility is there just by participating. And if the candidates that's running, if none of them agree, none of them have anything planned for you, then we also have the ability to finance our own candidates. Isn't it a 50C4, 5 and 6 is allowed to take 49.9% of all the money that they brought in to influence a candidate or any election? And there's no ceiling to how much money that they can take in. So why we can't do this again? I know that there's a brother and sister that's listening out there that's heavy in politics and the understanding on how you have to use it to move forward. So these are the like-minded individuals that we should be investing in.
Absolutely.
Because they come from our communities. They came from the same struggles that we came from. But then if we're not out there picking our representatives from our communities to move forward and represent us, why are we complaining? Why complain about any act that's on the table, old or new, if we can put acts on the table to change it? Just by participating, just by sending representatives that have our best interests in mind. Like we said before, the government is broken down into 3 branches, and it's about time that we learn how all 3 of them work again. We spend too many time worrying about the other 2, judicial and executive. No, we need to get the basics and get back there to that legislative where laws are created. That's where we need to be, because being at the police department or the courthouse, that don't mean anything. Police job is to enforce it, not interpret. The court interpret. They don't make it. The legislative branch makes the laws, creates the acts. Judicial side interprets the ruling. The executive side enforces it. So it don't make no sense in talking to the enforcement or the interpreter when we can have direct access on actually writing the acts. We cannot complain about a system if we don't even know how the system basically works. If we don't understand the basic fundamentals on how local government works, what are you complaining about? That's foolish. You must first gain understanding. And how can you say don't do something that you yourself have no knowledge of? Again, it comes a time for us to stop pointing the fingers, to take responsibility for what we've done and what we haven't done, to sit down at the table and realize, okay, obviously we can't keep doing this same thing over and over, expecting this to work. That's insanity. What haven't we been doing? That's what we need to look at. What haven't we been doing? We have to make time, because it's our future at stake. How you can complain about the status of the urban Indian, but at the same time, not standing up, participating to let them know that the misclassified urban Indian is still here. People hollering and crying about being a U.S. citizen. Well, I guess y'all never left the country, because I can promise you this. You travel the world, there's no other citizen you'd rather be than a U.S. citizen. Y'all better pay attention. Before the virus outbreak, everybody breaking their neck to be a U.S. citizen. The whole world is breaking their neck to be a U.S. citizen. So why are you trying to give it away again? The ability for you to speak your mind, whether somebody like it or not. That's a U.S. citizen. The ability to follow whatever you're passionate about. That's a U.S. citizen. The ability to speak for yourself and pick your own representation. That's a U.S. citizen. So again, before these people keep telling you this foolish rhetoric, you need to open up a book and really understand how this stuff works, because you're misinforming communities. It's time for us to inform ourselves to make better choices. This information is public info. But it ain't gonna help if you're not taking the time out to research it and see how it applies to you. And there's nothing wrong with doing history. I don't care if you want to go back to the 700s, that's cool. But you also got to take the time out to research the things that affect your life right now, that affect your children's lives moving forward. And as communities, we got to realize we have to come to the table and sit down as grown men and women and start handling business. Regardless of your ideology, regardless of your religious preferences, that the like-minded individuals in these communities, it's time for us who are like-minded to start working together. And it doesn't mean that everybody gonna do it. But if you're in a community and there's 4 or 5 of you, and you're constantly in conversations, that's enough to get started. You only need 3 people to sit on the board of a nonprofit. So if you got 5, you got 2 extra already. I mean, again, the ball is in our hand, like it's always been. And it's no outside entity that's doing this to us. We do it to ourselves now. We do it to each other now. When you study the history, the one thing that you will realize, we were stronger as communities. History shows you this. As individuals, we will remain conquered.
All facts. Zoom link and email still work.
And again, has anybody presented a workable alternative for stepping away? If anybody presented, what are we going to do for the elderly if you walk completely away and walk outside of the system? What are you going to do for the youth? What are you going to do for the men and women right now? What healthcare protection is there? Basic food, structure for survival to get out of the harsh climates and the changes of weather. I mean, basic practical needs. What's the alternative? And all these people talking some kicking somebody out the country, go ahead and move forward with it. I'll holler at you in 40 years and I'll ask you how you feel then. Man, the whole panel quiet. I cough or something, I sneeze.
Hey, you know I'm running.
You know, it's crazy you do this. Things be sizzling and smoking. I'm gonna invest in.
Yeah, like a plate from Chi-Chi's walking past.
You know, I gotta invest in a little extinguisher because
Or you could just get the plexiglass guard, just like all the stores got now.
I have no idea what y'all talking about.
Okay.
That's like hot bacon grease right there. Don't walk past the stove, because you might get embarrassed. Email autonomousassembly@gmail.com.
We can
Email
go ahead with the
words.
relatives. Get on about the date. It's about that time then.
Is it?
Salivation.
All right. Salivations. All right, my good peoples. Peace to the panel. Peace to the chat. Peace to the silent majority. Genealogy. Know who you are so that no one can tell you who you are. It is important. Know who you are so you can pass that information along and that knowing to your children so that your children can know who they are and no one can tell them who they are. Pass that information and that sharing along to other family members, friends, neighbors. You can learn a lot more than what you've been told or may have read. It expands on what you know. Genealogy is important. It truly helps you to know, understand who you are and where you come from and who you come from. And it is absolutely important. Anyone telling you different, like Alice in Wonderland, who are you? So yeah, do your genealogy. Continue on your genealogical journey. It's yours. It's yours for the knowing. It's yours for the sharing. It is yours. So know it so that no one can tell you different. No one can tell you who you are. Know who you are. Census days was April 1st. Does not mean that you can't do the census. You can definitely still do the census, participate, do the census. Make yourself count so that you can count. Again, census affects funding, period. When people don't participate, funding diminishes. When people don't participate, other areas are focused on. So when you're wondering why you don't have funding or don't have help, it's because you didn't participate. When one neighborhood has something, when one neighborhood has something and the next neighborhood doesn't, who participated? I'm just saying. So participate, do the census, get out there, have conversations, get actively involved, even if it's on a Facebook page. Just 1 second.
Well, I'm just going to salutate real quick. Our email address is autonomousassembly@gmail.com, the website, autonomousassembly.com. Check out the forum. Check out our information that we have there and get some things done this week, man. It's my Friday. It's the beginning of the end of the week.
Man.
So,
I lost 2 days. And still caught up.
Look, exactly. So we hit us up if you need to get some things going, moving, questions, comments, concerns, and/or corrections. Peace, y'all. You can continue, Gabrielle. I'm through. I'm on mute.
Okay, so point is, do your genealogy, participate, do the census. Again, the envelope says if you haven't received it in the mail, spoiler alert, the envelope says it is required by law. So do the census. Anyone telling you not to do the census, I'm saying, just me, don't listen to them. Do it. Aside from it saying that it's required by law, what can it hurt? Participating, doing the census, making yourself so that you can count, making yourself count so that you can count, and getting funding, not only for your county, your state, county, and city, but your community. Just saying. And then there's the ACS census. That ACS survey goes out to selected addresses, not selected people, selected addresses. So anyone receiving the ACS census, fill out that census, because whoever receives that ACS census, they are a representative. They are basically a voice, but just in ink or in typing. They are a voice for their neighbors, for their community. So yeah, do the census, participate, because we can do it. Just saying, we can do it because of participating, because of those before me who participated. I was able to apply for funding. I was able to apply for resources, and still finding out about more resources that receives funding. So because of that, I'm able to do what I'm doing and keep going forward. And I appreciate that. So why wouldn't I participate? Why wouldn't we as individuals participate so that we can continue to make a better difference for ourselves, for our communities, and our children? I mean, because in my mind, my children are my future. And I'm trying to participate so that they know. But no, get actively involved, have conversations, share. That being said, peace to the panel, peace to the chat, peace to the silent majority. Shout out to you, double cousin, for these wise words. Appreciate you.
Nah, I already did my salutation.
Oh, okay, so you want me to read these wise words? Okay, gotcha.
Appreciate you, my guy. Appreciate you.
You are free to make whatever choice you want, but you are not free from the consequences of the choice.
Not free.
May your choices reflect your hopes, not your fears. The 3 C's of life: choices, chances, changes. You must make a choice to take a chance, or your life will never change.
Well,
About mine.
Make good choices today so that you don't have regrets tomorrow. Okay, my bad. Everything in your life is a reflection of choices you have made. If you want a different result, make a different choice.
you.
You always have 2 choices: your commitment versus your fear. And last but not least, okay, 3 things. Choices. Well, I don't know if I can read that one. It's kind of funny, but drunk people, children, and leggings always tell the truth. And let's see. Okay, everything happens for a reason, but sometimes the reason is that your choices and you making bad decisions is the reason. And the last one, hold on.
Talking about what's the reason?
You said what? What's the reason?
Mm-hmm. I asked you what the reason. You know the reason.
The reasons. Oh, okay. Lastly, but I'll probably come up with one more. All right. Never laugh at your friends or associates' choices. Remember, you are one of them.
And then you said probably. Probably, yeah. But no, that's funny. Say that one again. That's the golden one right there.
Never laugh at your friends and associates' choices. Remember, you're one of them.
I'm just gonna leave it at that one right there. It might go over your head, and if it do,
Ouch.
Oh, wait. Here's the last one. My bad.
Oh, hold on. You talking about the last one? Like
This
towards the end of the show?
Okay, this is the last one, not the last one, but the last
Okay,
one.
well,
Okay. Choices and consequences come in package deals. When we make a choice, we ignite the consequences that come along with it. Consequences don't necessarily have to be bad. Just saying. Choices have consequences. So yeah. But yeah, with that, again, peace to the panel, peace to the chat, peace to the silent majority. Remember, we as individuals can't unhear it, can't unsee it, and can't unknow it. So individually, we are responsible with the knowledge and knowing that we obtain and what we do with it or not do with it. Just saying. Have a beautiful day. That's it.
All right. Thanks again, Gabrielle. Thanks again, No Sellout. Also, thank chat and the silent majority for making this possible again. And on this rising, gonna leave it short and simple. I mean, brothers and sisters, let's be honest. We spent the majority of our lives not participating, and we can see the results of it. So question, what happens when we participate? So on that note, continue to work in your communities. Continue to understand how your local government works and how you being a part of it can bring about that change. Continue to work in your communities, working with your neighbors to strive towards becoming self-sufficient as an individual and as communities. Continue working on your genealogy. So therefore you may know who you are and what tribes your people come from. And with that information, you can choose whether to embrace that culture or whatever other choice you want to make. So until we link up to the next Rising Show, remember we love you and peace.
Peace, everybody.
Peace, y'all.
Warning, warning, warning. Hard hats, pickaxe, shovels, boots required.